Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Level 1 revision lesson of A Simple Guide to Tajweed series, brought to you by Blossoms of Faith. Today we will review most of our rules by applying them to some examples from the Qur'an. This is the first lesson of a series of revision lessons on most rules that we have learned in this level. In this lesson, we will read some examples from the Qur'an. In each example, we will demonstrate all the possible stopping and continuation instances. Please note that we are only stopping after each word for the purpose of demonstrating the applicable stopping rule. In this example, Sheikh Ahmed will read each word showing how to stop at the end of this word and how to connect it to the following word, applying all the rules that we have learned in this level. When we stop at the end of the first word, because it ends with Tanween Fatha, we will exchange Tanween Fatha with Alif Mad 2 beats long, following stopping rule number 1. وَطَعَامًا وَطَعَامًا. If we connect the first word with the second word, we find that the first word ends with Tanween set B, which is sliding Tanween Fatha. But it is not followed by one of the letters of Yarmulun. So we will hide Noon Sakina of Tanween at the point of articulation of letter Dhal with prolonged Gunna. But if we stop at the end of the second word, we stop with an Alif Mad 2 beats long. وَطَعَامًا ذَا وَطَعَامًا ذَا. When we connect the second word to the third one, we pronounce the Mad letter with 2 beats long, and we stop at the end of the third word with Sukoon, changing Tanween Kasra into Sukoon and Ta' al-Ta'nith into Ha. وَطَعَامًا ذَا غُصَّةٍ وَطَعَامًا ذَا غُصَّةٍ. When connecting the third word to the fourth, we will merge Noon Sakina of Tanween into the following letter, Waw, with prolonged Gunna, as it is from set B where the Tanween is sliding, and the following letter is from Yarmulun. When we stop at the end of the fourth word, we exchange the Tanween Fatha with an Alif Mad, 2 beats long. وَطَعَامًا ذَا غُصَّةٍ وَعَذَابًا وَطَعَامًا ذَا غُصَّةٍ وَعَذَابًا. When connecting the fourth word to the last one, we find that the Tanween Fatha here is set A, which is equal Tanween. So, we pronounce the Noon Sakina of Tanween clear, and when stopping at the end of the last word, again, we will exchange Tanween Fatha with Alif Mad 2 beats long. وَطَعَامًا ذَا غُصَّةٍ وَعَذَابًا أَلِيمًا وَطَعَامًا ذَا غُصَّةٍ وَعَذَابًا أَلِيمًا. Here is another example. However, this time Sheikh Ahmed will also show us how to start with words that begin with Hamzat-ul-wasl. We need to assign a Harakat to Hamzat-ul-wasl to be able to start reading with it. So, we check the following letter. Because it is not Lam al-Ta'rif or one of the 7 nouns, we will check the Harakah of the third letter. As it is Fatha, we will assign Kasra to Hamzat-ul-wasl. Then, when we stop at the end of this word, we stop with Waw Mad 2 beats long, and the Alif with a circle on top is always silent. انطلقوا انطلقوا. If we connect the first word with the second word, we pronounce Waw Mad 4 beats long, as it has Madda sign above the Waw. But when we stop at the end of the second word, we stop with alif maqsura 2 beats long.
انطلقوا إلى انطلقوا إلى.
When connecting the second word to the third, we will keep the mad letter 2 beats long, and we will stop at the end of the third word, changing shadda and tanween kasra into sukoon and stop with nabr.
انطلقوا إلى ظل انطلقوا إلى ظل.
When connecting the third word to the fourth, we will pronounce it with tanween kasra. As it is tanween set B, which is sliding tanween, and the following letter is not from Yarmulun, we will hide the noon sakina of tanween at the point of articulation of letter dhal with prolonged ghunna. But when we stop at the end of the fourth word, we stop with ya mad 2 beats long.
انطلقوا إلى ظل ذي انطلقوا إلى ظل ذي.
When connecting the fourth word to the fifth, we will pronounce it with ya mad 2 beats, and we will stop at the end of the fifth word, changing kasra into sukoon.
انطلقوا إلى ظل ذي ثلاث انطلقوا إلى ظل ذي ثلاث.
When connecting the fifth word to the last, we will pronounce it with kasra, and we will stop at the end of the last word, changing tanween kasra into sukoon. Because it is also a qalqalah letter, we will pronounce it with qalqalah when it is sakin.
انطلقوا إلى ظل ذي ثلاث شعب انطلقوا إلى ظل ذي ثلاث شعب.
One more example. At the end of the first word, he will stop with 2 beats long, which means there is no change as the last letter is already a mad letter.
وأما
If we connect the first word with the second word, we will read it as 2 beats mad, and we will stop at the end of the second word with sukoon and qalqalah, as we have to change tanween dhamma into sukoon. And because the last letter is dal, one of the qalqalah letters, we should pronounce it with qalqalah when it is sakin.
وأما عاد
If we connect the second word to the following one, we have to apply the tanween rules that we learned in lesson 8. As the tanween is from set B, which is sliding tanween dhamma, when we check the following letter, it is not from Yarmulun letters. This means that it is from the other group, where we have to hide noon sakina of tanween with prolonged ghunna at the point of articulation of the following letter, which in this case is letter fa. But when we stop at the end of the third word, we will stop with 2 beats long, which means no change as the last letter is waw mad and the alif after it with a circle on top is always silent.
وأما عاد فأهلكوا
When we connect the third word to the fourth one, we pronounce the mad letter with 2 beats long, and we stop at the end of the fourth word with sukoon, changing tanween kasra into sukoon.
وأما عاد فأهلكوا بريح
When connecting the fourth word to the fifth, we will hide noon sakina of tanween at the point of articulation of letter sad with prolonged ghunna, as it is from set B where the Tanween Kasra is sliding and the following letter is not from Yarmulun. Also, we change the Tanween Kasra at the end of the fifth word into Sukoon when stopping. But we should pronounce the Ra heavy, as it is Sakina, preceded by a letter that has Fatha, as we learned in lesson 6. But if we continue reading, Ra will be soft, as it has Tanween Kasra.
وأما عاد فأهلكوا بريح صرصر وأما عاد فأهلكوا بريح صرصر.
When connecting the fifth word to the last one, we find that the Tanween Kasra here is set A, which is equal Tanween. So, we pronounce the Noon Sakina of Tanween clear. And when stopping at the end of the last word, we change Ta' al-Ta'nith into a Ha with Sukoon, as we have learned in Stopping Rules Lesson 10A.
وأما عاد فأهلكوا بريح صرصر عاتية وأما عاد فأهلكوا بريح صرصر عاتية.
Thank you for listening, and see you next lesson where we will continue our revision with more examples. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.